One thing I want to clarify, there is an unfortunate observation in Vasant Kumar's case that ordinary rules of interpretation are not applicable to the Constitution. In my humble view, that is a wrong statement. In 1951, as early as 51, in Keshav Madhav Menon dealing with the Bombay law, the Constitution bench said established rules of interpretation apply to Article 13 as well. Then you go to Chandramohan's case, the famous judgment of Hidayatullah, where he says fundamental rules of interpretation are the same, whether you're interpreting a constitution or interpreting a statute, fundamental rules are same. And I personally feel, going into this, rules, established rules, see Article 367, that's the answer. 367 says when you interpret the Constitution, General Clause Act apply. Now you'll find in our Constitution, very interestingly, the definition clause is in 366. It's in part 19 towards the end. 367 is the interpretation article. It says General Clause Act applies. Now, if you go back to Government of India Act 1935, section 311 is the definition section. But it is not, the marginal note doesn't say definition, it says interpretation. Now, I was wondering why they don't have this provision of General Clause Act in 311. Then the answer could be, if the Government of India Act is an act of Parliament itself, then automatically the General Clause Act applies. There's no need to mention that it should be applicable. But in our Constitution, they took the trouble of saying, for the Constitution also, General Clause Act will apply to interpret. So I think that really sorts out the problem. And finally, I was just doing some research. Common example is ejusdem generis. It's applied in many taxing statutes, where general words follow special words, what will happen. And it has been applied to Article 31A. Jagir, Inam, Muafi, or other similar grant. That other similar grant was interpreted ejusdem generis, which the earlier words. So I think we can bury this controversy and say that the principles of interpretation will apply, particularly in India, where 80% of your law is nothing but the old Act of Parliament. Now the next slide, please.